ReZero, Side Story, My Fair Bad Lady, Part 1.
Emilia, hey, Subaru, did you hear? A wandering genius chef is coming. Subaru, what? In response to Emilia's statement, her eyes sparkling, Subaru tilted his head greatly, and he asked another question. They were at the Roswell Mansion's garden, and it was still early morning before breakfast. What jumped at him in this clear, morning atmosphere was Emilia's look of anticipation and her statement, forgetting to say her greetings. Her silver hair shimmered in the morning sun, and her round amethyst eyes were like jewels, and she did give off a brave innocence at a glance, but her gestures full of charm and cuteness changed the feeling she gave off noticeably. Frankly, even though she had a beautiful face, she was cute. She was an angel. Emilia, Subaru, did you listen to me properly? Subaru, of course, EMT. So, what was it again? Emilia, geez, you didn't listen to me after all. Like I said, a wandering genius chef is coming. Doesn't that sound really exciting? Doesn't it? The silver bell-like tone was also colored with her joy, not hiding her cheerful and lively mood. It was a cheerful mood that he'd always watch, but he got interested when he heard Emilia say wandering genius chef, so it couldn't be helped. Subaru, a wandering genius chef. Who is that again? That person with a dimwit-sounding title. Emilia, you shouldn't say that. Well, I don't know that much about them either. Emilia put her finger to her lips as Subaru frowned at her suspicious expression. Emilia, anyway, it kinda seems like it's a person who's really skilled with cooking, and so apparently, their cooking is known to be so good that eat a bite, and your body will be captured. Eat 2, and your heart will be captivated. Eat 3, and your soul will be trapped. Subaru, is that slogan not a curse? The song about reputation was so out there that it was unlikely to be very useful, so he couldn't accept it easily. Anyhow, disregarding the exaggerated reputation, it seemed to be an event where the so-called rumored chef would display their skills, so it sounded good. The news not getting to a servant of the mansion, Subaru, was a mystery, but he said, Subaru, well, it is Rozchi, so it's very likely that it'll be a surprise show. Emilia Tan, when did you hear about this? Emilia, a little while ago. Subaru, then there's no doubt about it. Roswell, the head of the mansion, was a strange one that always had his eccentric outfit and his clown makeup on him. Him saying things like wild statements and suggestions was an everyday thing, so Subaru easily understood how he was the link to this time's matter too. Subaru, either way, I wanna hope that the person doesn't fail to live up to their name. Emilia, yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't really get it, but even in a sense of foreseeing my future, it's something necessary, so I'll look forward to it. Subaru, Emilia Tan's future? Emilia was in high spirits with Subaru, as he expressed his agreement, but her phrasing somewhat bothered him. However, even he didn't know what exactly was bothering him. Without finding out what was the cause of his discomfort in the end, he said, Subaru. Well, oh well. All right, then let's start doing radio calisthenics. Doing them energetically, carefreely, and enjoyably, that is. Emilia, okay, got it. Then let's do the stretching exercise and stretch our arms outward. Emilia, someone who got completely accustomed to a different world's custom, let out the customary yell, and the radio calisthenics commenced. Subaru also focused on his own calisthenics while listening to that comforting voice.
My Fair Bad Lady, Part 2.
Subaru-kun, did you hear? Apparently, the chef that can make the dragon howl Dias Lepanzo, Elemanso a plain fat spam vi summer is coming tomorrow. Subaru, what? Rem started talking to Subaru like that, her eyes sparkling, as he returned from his duties after his morning radio calisthenics. She was a girl that would usually keep in mind having a stiff expression, but her unhideable excitement turned into passion, and it all poured out from her body. Rem, yes, it is. The chef that can make the dragon howl Dias Lepanzo Elemanso a plain fat spam vi summer is coming. Isn't that amazing? Subaru, Sounds kinda amazing in various ways. Is it really okay to call the person a chef? Not something like an adventurer? Rem, what are you saying, Subaru-kun? Isn't it obvious? DS Lepunzo Elemanso, a plain fat spam vi summer, is a world-famous chef, Subaru, so that's how it is. Subaru was overwhelmed by Rem, who leaned in closer, breathing heavily. Usually, Rem would have completely positive opinions in regard to Subaru, but for some reason, she acted displeased and rebuked him, perhaps having to do with her heavy infatuation with the chef. Subaru, so it's the cook that's coming tomorrow. I heard about it from Emilia just now, but is it a famous person? Rem, of course. It's a chef that can make the dragon howl, seeking for unknown supremacy, blessed by the food goddess, and the person has mastered all the styles of tastes in the world. They're famous for their eat a bite, and your body will be captured. Eat 2, and your heart will be captivated. Eat 3, and your soul will be trapped. Subaru, that slogan sounds dangerous no matter how many times I hear it. Rem seems to be very knowledgeable. Rem, as unworthy as Rem is, but as being in charge of the cooking, after all, Rem respects and aspires to be like those who are at the top of that road. That's why Rem is really looking forward to this. Rem would show him her rare smiles carefreely. Just looking at it would make him have such a fine smile that his cheeks would loosen, but when he thought about how an unknown person had made her bring it out, he wasn't very amused because of his male instincts. It was Rem's surprising fangirl tastes that came to light during the visit from the bard Liliana. Rem, what's wrong? You seem to look a little angry. Subaru, no? Rem and Emilia Tan seem to be obsessed with that DS person, so don't mind me. I'm meant to just lick plates at the corner, anyways. Rem, haha. Subaru-kun, don't just say weird things please. But, Rem smiled at Subaru, who pouted and fell into civility, and in the middle of it, she made a face that indicated she had remembered something. Rem, even though you licking plates was a joke, it is said that DS Lepunzo Elemanso, a plain fat spam vi summer, is very strict with manners and demands certain decency, so, Subaru, any world's workers will have an abundance of people that are hard to please. I'll ask just in case, but are they the type of people who take away the cooking when you have bad manners? Rem, no, it's said that they turn you into the cooking. Subaru, a type of restaurateur with many orders? He asked about the type of person of a busy restaurant, and Subaru had chills run down his back when he was told that he was going to be cooked instead of food. However, he immediately saw Rem bursting into laughter, and he understood that it was one of her jokes. Subaru, geez, for a moment, I thought that might be a thing. Rem, sorry. Subaru-kun believes me too easily, so it just couldn't be helped. However, manners truly are important. Although, Rem doesn't think there's anything that's strict. Especially for Subaru and Rem, people of lower positions. Subaru, well, if you expect me to have courtly manners, I won't be able to appreciate the taste of the food. He couldn't stand being judged the same way regardless of if he'd been receiving an education or not. Subaru felt relief that this world didn't have comparable table manners. He tried to feel relieved, but, once again, something bothered him. Well, what could it possibly be? Rem, since it's a special occasion, I also want to learn something from tomorrow's cooking. Subaru-kun, remember Rem's flavor today, because tomorrow, you will definitely enjoy the elevated flavor. Subaru, something about the way you said that makes it sound like I'm going to eat you. Rem, it's embarrassing that such a lovely thing would eat Rem up. Subaru, no, I didn't say that, though. The earlier feeling of discomfort rapidly faded away as he got into it with the now blushing Rem. He patted Rem's head even with the situation being like that, and he resumed the servant work with her as she purred. At any rate, he was looking forward to the meal tomorrow.
My Fair Bad Lady, Part 3.
Ram, Barusu, do you know? The lustful and womanizing but legendary chef DS Lepunzo Elemanso, a plain fat spam vi, has been invited to the mansion tomorrow. Make sure to behave yourself. Subaru, what? After the usual morning meeting for work assignments, Subaru was just about to start cleaning the mansion with Ram when he heard her, making him tilt his head to the side deeply. When Subaru turned around, who had already tilted his head 3 times today, he met the eyes of Ram, as she had her arms folded, snorting her nose very pompously. Ram, like was said, tomorrow the lustful and womanizing but legendary chef Diaz Lepanzo Elemanso, a plain fat spam Vi will be displaying their abilities at the mansion. Ram does feel pity for Barusu, you, not being able to participate, but behave in a way so that you don't hurt Roswell Summer's honor. Subaru, wait, hold up with all that. Who's coming again? Diaz-san. Ram, Diaz Lepanzo Elemanso a plain fat spam Vi. Apparently it's a person who gets grouchy when you don't go through the trouble of calling them by their full name. Barusu, you make sure that you absolutely do not make a mistake in their name, too. Also, Subaru, wait a second, seriously wait. Subaru interrupted Ram's words midway, pressed for an answer, and new pages for the chef information that started with Emilia began to add one after another. What exactly did it all mean? Subaru, that Diaz Lepanzo, is that the same person Rem was talking about? Ram doesn't know what Rem told you, but Ram heard about it along with our talk this morning, with Roswell Summer, so maybe it's concerning the same person. So, Subaru, but there are some unresolved differences between that and the personality Rem told me about. According to what Rem happily said, the visiting chef had a reputation of being the type of worker that can be hard to please, but even if she was as wrong as possible, the person shouldn't have been a lecher. Subaru, what's more is that, just like that, I've become unable to participate in eating, but what is the meaning of this? Ram, I told you it was a lustful womanizer, didn't I? The person mastered any and every delicious food. That Diaz Lepanzo Elemanso a plain fat spam Vi chooses their customers, displaying their abilities, which are obviously limited to women only. Disgusting. Subaru, if that were the case, then Roswell wouldn't be able to eat, either. Isn't that odd? Ram, ha. At Subaru's complaining, Ram snorted in an attitude that did not hide her contempt for him. Ram, Roswell Summer has a certain position. He won his seat after proper negotiations. There's no seat for Barusu. Deal with it by licking someone's leftover plate. Roswell Summers is a no-go, and forget about Emilia Summers. Rem is an absolute no, and if you lick mine, you can die. Licking Beatrice Summers' leftover plate would be fine. Subaru, licking plate seems like it could happen, but what kind of punishment game is this? Once he was even set up to lick Beatrice's used plate on top of not being able to eat, he couldn't help but raise his voice. Subaru, no matter how you look at it, this is too much. Where is Roschi? I'ma have a talk with him. Ram, unfortunately, Roswell Summer went out to see Diaz Lepanzo Elemanso a plain fat spam Vi right now. He'll be back during dinner tomorrow, in other words, just before the cooking starts. There's nothing you can do about it. Sorry for your loss, Subaru, this is hopeless. Collapsing to his knees on the spot, Subaru looked up toward the ceiling lamenting his misfortune. Iri lema sovactoni? Oh God, why hast thou forsaken Subaru? It was the flow of a conversation that made it seem like it was prepared only to set up Subaru. Subaru, besides, why is it that even you guys are being notified the day before and not just me? I sense a conspiracy. Ram, it's a traveling chef. The person is very hard to get a hold of, and it was also hard to get them to agree this time, too. But they got interested when they were told that there would be 4 beautiful-looking girls. Subaru, it's a lustful chef. The reasoning that satisfied the demand was so agreeable that it was unexpectedly convincing. Emilia was, of course, beautiful, and Ram were the incarnations of beautiful girls too. Beatrice also had the cuteness of a doll or fairy if she stayed quiet and still. Subaru, can I really forgive such oppression? Ram, bear with it. Besides, having expectations as a servant would be a presumptuous honor. Also, the food this time is more than just a meal. Rather, Ram and the others are the exceptions. It's all thanks to Roswell Summer. Isn't it wonderful? Subaru, How can I agree with you when I'm being left out, Ram, every single time, so annoying. And besides, this time, there is more to it than just a meal. Ram kicked Subaru's corpse in frustration, the end of her words too faint to be heard, and Subaru, pounding the floor in exasperation, was unaware of it. In the end, Ram's consolations were cut short, and she returned to her work quickly. Subaru, remaining behind, after a moment of frustration, said, "Subaru, at least, I could have a taste from Emilia Tan's plate." "No, I can't do such a bold thing," and so, suffering from a conflict of such low aspirations, he set about his morning's work.
My Fair Bad Lady, Part 4.
Beatrice, come to think of it, have you heard, I suppose? Apparently, the successor Diaz Leponzo, Elemanso a plain fat spam via the decapitating cook is coming. In fact, Subaru, wait, it was an interaction that happened 4 times today, but the impactful way she started the conversation caused Subaru to forget the standard reaction he had up to this point, and so he raised his voice as much as possible. The person who frowned unhappily at Subaru's state was this girl who tried to bring up a topic with a rarely seen smug face, Beatrice. Sitting on her stepladder, she snorted her nicely shaped nose with a hum as she glared at Subaru. "Beatrice, you must have some nerve to interrupt Betty, I suppose. Besides, you shouldn't be so noisy in the library, in fact. You'll stir up dust, and you'll hurt the book's feelings, I suppose." Subaru, ignoring that airhead-like insistence of you understanding the book's feelings, "What did you say just now? Can you repeat it, Beatrice?" "Right. The successor Diaz Leponzo Elemanso a plain fat spam via the decapitating cook is coming tomorrow. In fact, Subaru, yes that's it. What is that super dangerous nickname? Decapitating? I never heard of this." It was a chef whose alias would always change whenever he asked about it, but all of them should have been barely out of the chef category so far. However, if a bizarre image was added after coming here, then of course Subaru couldn't be obedient like a willow swaying in the wind. Subaru, first of all, the person just needs one cool name. In fact, having so many feels threatening, or, rather, that so-called important something is faint. What does wandering genius cook? Chef that can make the dragon howl. Lustful and womanizing but legendary chef, and decapitating cook all mean? There's too much mess displayed. Is there really someone with so many aliases? If there are more like that, tell me. I'll give them a scolding. Beatrice, Roswell seems to be called stuff like demi-human lover, clown noble, top royal, magician, and the court jester, I suppose. Subaru, when he gets back, I'm gonna give him a scolding. Subaru scratched his head recklessly at all the names he was told while he resented how it was one of his friends. Beatrice let out a clear sigh at Subaru, and she said, "Beatrice, what's irritating you is a mystery. Besides, it seems to be such a trivial thing, I suppose." Subaru, there's no way it isn't so trivial. Decapitating sounds beyond scary. The person had to have cut off 2 or 3 heads to get that nickname, and they still continue to be a chef. Beatrice, Betty understands. You're misunderstanding things, I suppose. They're said to be a decapitating cook, but the reason they're called that isn't that they actually cut off heads. In fact, Beatrice's shocked way of shrugging her shoulders didn't match her appearance. However, Subaru felt relief from the behavior of the girl who had a mismatched impression for now. Subaru, oh, is that so? Well, that's right. That is right. There's no way a person that decapitates the heads of people they don't like should be able to continue carefreely as a chef. What a bluff of a name. Beatrice, of course. However, it's said that when Diaz Leponzo Elemanso a plain fat spam via is at a dining table, the people they end up not liking somehow lose things like their positions and jobs, and there are a lot of times when they get ruined. In fact, Subaru, a decapitating cook in a sense of human resources, he clearly understood the truth of the nickname that didn't pop up until now, and Beatrice's explanation had credibility. The more colorful the alias was, the more frightening the evidence was, but Subaru tried to convince himself that there was surely no reason for them to behave badly in the current situation. Subaru, no, wait. Subaru was going to think that, and then he pulled back his heart that seemed like it was going to be relieved. Something bothered him. It was the kind of discomfort that had been on his face every time he had talked about the chef, starting with the part this morning with Emilia. The discomforting thing that made him worry several times, now, combined with the information he had gathered up to this point, revealed a new fact. Subaru, the foreseeing of Emilia's future. Annoying manners. Lustful and womanizing. And then, decapitating cook. The worrisome words piled up, and Subaru's brain fired and finally arrived at a single answer. It was nothing but a cruel plan that was too villainous. Subaru, no way, no, if it's Roswell, then it might be done. Roswell L. Mathers was Emilia's biggest and only supporter, however, he was also a member of the kingdom's nobility, and his position as a margrave a position that naturally required him to make serious decisions. Therefore, surely Roswell also demanded that severe lifestyle from the royal candidate Emilia, too. It was also a sort of method he couldn't imagine Emilia doing, as she was kind and pure. Subaru, I have to do something. Emilia's smile, lively voice, and her fingertips he touched shined inside his memory. That smile, voice and touch, he had to protect all of it. Subaru, I'll do it. I will be on your side, I swear. Subaru wanted to continue to be strong and supportive so that he could continue to brighten the future. In Emilia's eyes, he was already receiving his reward every day. Just that was enough. Beatrice, oh I suppose, you aren't listening at all, in fact. Whatever, I suppose. Subaru got completely lost in his thoughts, clenched his fists, and forgot about Beatrice being there. Beatrice raised one knee and looked away to pout, as she was being ignored. Here, though, the failure to properly communicate each other's thoughts on the matter twisted this situation into a more confusing and complicated one. Neither Subaru nor Beatrice had any way of knowing that at this time.
My Fair Bad Lady, Part 5.
Subaru, Puck, did you know? The wandering, womanizing, legendary decapitating chef that can make the dragon howl is coming to the mansion tomorrow. Puck, was it really like that? The fifth interaction was something that had seemingly similar form, but it was definitely different than all of the ones he had up to this point. Subaru, someone who had been the listener until now, became the speaker. Subaru called out to someone at the mansion's rear garden, having a secret talk, and he sharpened all of his senses to take caution. Then, the one who tilted his head at Subaru's topic was a grey-haired kitten spirit floating in the air. It was Puck, who was Emilia's contracted spirit as well as someone who was called her self-proclaimed guardian. In response to Subaru's words, he lifted his tail as high as his body, and while playing with the tip of his paws he said, Puck, Leah told me about it happily, so I do know a chef is coming. However, I feel like they didn't have such a strange name. I feel like it was a more simple and shady one. Subaru, for sure. It sure was a bit off. There are actually a lot more names, but it's all a mess. But it's fine. That's not important right now. Puck, if Subaru says it's fine, then okay, but I don't understand what you're getting at. What do you need? Subaru, it's a request for you to come with me alone. Of course, Emilia Tan can't hear about it, since it's something that involves her. Subaru lowered his voice, and he spoke to Puck while looking at the situation around him. Afterwards, the round-eyeballed kitten stiffened his expression, and he came down slowly to match Subaru's eye level. Puck, if it's about Leah, then I'll listen to anything. I'm all ears. Subaru, right. But, make sure you don't reveal this to Emilia Tan. I don't want to cause any unnecessary worry for her. Besides, if Emilia Tan finds out and notices, it probably won't work. Puck, Despite expressing his lack of understanding, Puck was willing to hear Subaru's statement to the end. Thankful for this, Subaru told him about tomorrow's events and revealed the other side of the conspiracy. Subaru, about tomorrow's chef, the dinner is a trap set up by Roswell. Puck, what do you mean? Subaru, I'm not talking about him poisoning anything. It's just that there's a poisonous scheme. Puck, it's so confusing. Subaru, confusing. What I mean is, that Roswell guy is going to confirm it at the dinner tomorrow. It's Emilia Tan's table manners. Puck, puzzled over the whole details of the scheme, wondered, manners. Subaru, annoyed at the kitten's delay in understanding, asked, don't you get it? Subaru, you don't get it? Think about Emilia Tan's future position. She's a candidate to be king, and from here, she'll be invited to a lot of parties and dinings. In those times, there will be many occasions when she'll be tested for appropriate behavior. Puck, dash. In other words, tomorrow's dinner is for testing out Leah's manners. Subaru, yes, it's a trap. The decapitating chef curses the future of those with unacceptable manners. People who get judged negatively by that chef will never be able to hope for success. Up to this point, there seems to be no end to the number of people that lost their future in exchange for temporary happiness from getting involved with the chef, despairing as they ended themselves. This is what Roswell's trying to do. Subaru listened to Beatrice, and in the Forbidden Library, he realized that plan, but the more he thought about it, the more it made sense. In other words, this is a demonstration and a touchstone for the royal selection that Roswell has placed before Emilia. Emilia's intention to participate in the royal selection would depend on the outcome of this. Puck, but, for Roswell to do such a thing, no, if it's him, then it's possible. Subaru, could it be? No, absolutely it is. Emilia will be tested. But what will happen if I tell her this and she avoids the test this time? She'll just be tested another way. Puck, then what should we do? Leah believes in Roswell, but I feel bad for her. Puck's ears folded weakly, and his eyes were clouded with sadness in his depressed look. Subaru understood his feelings so well that it hurt, and he hit his chest. He did it strongly, and it was as if blue veins stood out on his forehead. Subaru, that's why I called you. Emilia will be saved by you and me. Puck, me and Subaru. How? Subaru, easy to explain. Tomorrow, Roswell and the others will try to test Emilia's table manners. Emilia, having her meal without knowing about it, that's what we should help out with. Subaru nodded deeply to Puck, who stiffened as if hit by a direct bolt of lightning. Emilia didn't have to know about the cruel reality. If Roswell became aware of how Emilia noticed it, then that devil-like man would surely come up with a different plan again. However, this time Subaru and Puck recognized that devilish trick beforehand. They were also on Emilia's side, no matter what. They could struggle secretly and openly for her sake. Subaru, let's do this, Puck. You and I will save Emilia. Puck, yeah, I'm up for it. Got it. I'll put a bet on your feelings. When Subaru held out his hand, Puck landed on his palm, having only thought about it for a second. It looked different than a handshake, but both of their intentions were able to be united. Puck, so, what do we do tomorrow? Subaru, there can be some interferences. That's why first we need countermeasures for that. After that, let's meet up to follow up according to the situation. In other words, we won't be getting sleep tonight. They both had the same goal and were acting to protect the girl that was important to both of them. Subaru and Puck prepared for tomorrow as they watched for an opportunity to destroy the evil scheme, polishing the nails and fangs while they had smiles on their faces that would look exactly the same to an outsider.
My Fair Bad Lady, Part 6.
That day, Ram was in a bad mood since morning. Of course, she wasn't so crude to show that displeasure on her face. That's why her behavior was as mannered as usual, and on the surface, she appeared to be dignified. However, her heart wasn't at peace. Ram, so damn unsightly, Barusu, if she slipped up, she would let out the irritation she had towards the servant that had a frivolous look on his face. Normally, as a servant of a mansion, similar to Ram and Rem, Natsuki Subaru would be responsible for doing all the chores. Today visitors had also arrived, and he was in the position of dealing with that. Also, on this crucial day, he fell ill since this morning and stayed in his room and did not come out. Rem, nay Summer. Subaru-kun is tired from doing all this work he's not used to. I'll do my best to work, too, so let him get some good rest, please. Only Ram's younger sister that was equal to her with half her body, noticed her irritation that wasn't shown on her face and followed up. However, Rem spoiled Subaru, the target of Ram's anger, and the burden being put on her only caused Ram's impression of Subaru inside her to worsen even more. Barusu doesn't deserve to be alive tomorrow. Ram decided on how she would let out her accumulated anger, as she suppressed her discontent and devoted herself to her work. And then the mansion welcomed its long-awaited visitor. Like that, it was in the afternoon when the master Roswell brought home the guest, the lustful and womanizing but legendary chef Dias Lepunzo Elemanso a plain fat spam vi. Dias, I'm honored to be invited, I say. Ram's expression hardened as she received the man who appeared in the entrance hall of the mansion. With dignity, he had a fat belly, an oily face, and he looked at them with a belittling look while having a really vulgar smile. He had grey hair, and he was a large fatso, big both vertically and horizontally. They guessed he was around 50 since he had somewhat thin hair and a mean look. To the side, he brought along petite luggage holders who had cloaks that completely covered the body up to their heads. It seemed like the servants were there so that the luggage would be minimal, allowing him to travel. Roswell, meeting up took Suom time. Sorry for returning late. However, he is more pleasant than rumors suggest. Be as respectful as possible. Having returned, Roswell expressed his warm, smiling welcome at the side of the legendary chef with 2 people. Ram and Rem respond to those words by bowing with dignity as they said, Rem and Ram, welcome, thanks for coming. Dias, oh I can't get enough of this. In response to the unison greeting, the fat man responded in an obese voice, breathing heavily and trembling his whole fatty body. Dias, the fact that they are beautiful and lovely is made even more attractive by the fact that they are twins. Gay. Roswell, thank you very much. I am honored by your compliments. The somewhat aroused man said that, and Roswell gave a vague reply. It was a sociable reply to the overexcited man's words, which Roswell would have taken no matter what. While listening to this, Ram's internal indignation was relieved by stretching the obese man's cheeks in her imagination, kicking him in the stomach, and bouncing him all over the entrance hall like a game of kickball. Don't look at Rem in such a disgusting way, she thought. Ram, Dias, whoops, can't do that. Sorry for being so sudden, I say, but would you mind guiding me to the kitchen, I say? I want to fulfill my wish, I say. The luggage holders sighed as they nudged the back of the man, who seemed like he would continue chatting vulgarly from beginning to end. His expression changed, having noticed it, and he asked about the kitchen with a serious face. Rem, understood. Rem shall guide you. Rem took the initiative and offered to guide him, and she walked with the 2 of them towards the kitchen. That was when Ram noticed the man looking at Rem's butt as she walked in front. However, the man's follower bowed their head repeatedly for his master's impoliteness, so she held back on saying anything. Ram endured by resuming the imagined ball kicking. Roswell, sorry. Did he offend you? Ram, no. No way. I would never harbor ill feelings towards an invited guest of Roswell's summer. Roswell, and your real feelings? Ram, by any means possible, crush those eyes that look at my adorable Rem indecently. Even now, remembering that low life look horrified her. If it was that bad, then Subaru's was better. Even if his looks were suspicious at times, she believed in his incompetent point of being self-restrained. Rem doesn't worry about it, and Emilia Summer and Beatrice Summer wouldn't even notice. So Ram believes it will not be a problem. Roswell, sorry for such a hard time. By the way, I haven't seen Subaru-kun. Where is he? Ram, my apologies. Ram was informed Barusu's been ill since this morning, so he's sleeping in his room. Ram actually wanted to throw Barusu out. I wanted to leave dealing with the guest entirely to Barusu. Roswell, oh, that's unfortunate. Tonight's dinner was going to have a flavor that would make you see things differently. Roswell really said it regretfully, so Ram looked down quietly and said, Ram, shall we talk to Barusu so that he can show up tonight? Roswell, we shouldn't be forceful. If it seems like he can come, then he's welcome to do so no matter how sick he looks. There's no point in just worrying about Subaru-kun all the time. Ram touched his shoulder gently, and she felt heat. Roswell smiled at Ram, her having slightly blushed cheeks. He closed one eye, and he teasingly said, Roswell, Ram should enjoy herself, too. It'll definitely turn out to be a night that has that benefit.
My Fair Bad Lady, Part 7.
His black eyes caught the visitor's arrival through the gap in the curtains. Subaru, target spotted. No doubt about it. It's the real deal, Puck, so it seems safe to assume that our theory is correct. Puck folded his arms, and he gave an acknowledging gesture with his chin at the boy who looked back, at the darkness. The boy agreed by shrugging his shoulders, and he squinted with his sanpaku eyes that tended to slant. The atmosphere was different. The kitten sensed it, and he let out a sigh. Puck, we're really doing this, right, Subaru? Yeah. Whether we do it or not, I'll definitely still have regrets. If that's the case, then it's much better to regret after doing it. That's what I feel right now. Puck, I might have misunderstood you. Got it. If you're that determined, then I'll help out as much as I can. I'll do it all for my cute, beloved daughter, Subaru. Yeah, all for her sake. The two quietly exchanged words in the quiet atmosphere. They settled on a target, and their intentions united. They no longer had any hesitation or doubt. Subaru, the boy adjusted the position of the chair he sat on. He held on to his breath, and he looked down on the tool in front of him. He was never familiar with it, but it wasn't his first time touching it, either. Never had he imagined that the skills he had acquired in his past would come in handy again in such a way. In life, you never know what will help you. With the little strong emotions and the readiness to go further in his chest, the boy tackled the battle.
My Fair Bad Lady, Part 8.
A few hours after the arrival of Dias Lepunzo Elemanso Blaine Fatsbalm Vi, the dinner preparations were set up, and Ram went to call Emilia and Beatrice. It was a person that was said to be a supreme chef. Rem was sent to observe the chef, and although she didn't show it on her face, she had clear expectation and excitement coming from her body. Meanwhile, Ram had to handle the majority of the afternoon chores. Once Rem indulged Ram, it was impossible for Ram not to be inspired. So all the remaining work was completed more perfectly than usual by Ram. Ram, damn you Barusu. Of course, that didn't eliminate her hardship, so her anger was directed towards Subaru, who was resting. In the end, however, Subaru's health did not improve even by dinner time. Emilia, he was looking forward to it so much too. Subaru is really unlucky, wonder if we can leave something for him. Can I ask? Ram believes Roswell Summer has taken that into consideration. Emilia Summer, you're probably fine to enjoy the dinner without thinking too hard about something petty. Emilia, yeah, got it. Will do. Thank you. Emilia appeared to be disappointed with Subaru's absence. However, she was better off worrying about herself rather than another person. There was a reasonable significance behind inviting Dias Lepunzo, Elemanso a plain Fatsbalm Vi and having dinner, although Emilia didn't realize it. Emilia, speaking of disappointing, Puck also hasn't shown up. He should be somewhere in the mansion, but he's not in the Crystal Stone. Ram, have you seen him? Ram, nope, I haven't seen him. Besides, with him having the form of a great spirit, being at the dining table during dinner with the chef would be a little complicated. Emilia, I guess there's a problem with that. Even though he's always kept clean, even though, as a spirit, he just looked like a cat, a being like that having dinner with them would not be a desirable situation. In case he was a beastman, there would be many other complications to deal with due to being in the Kingdom of Lagunica. However, at this point, let's be honest and agree that his cat-like appearance caused a lot of problems. In response to Ram's indirect wording, Emilia also accepted the situation reluctantly, and she sat at the dining table. Beatrice, Even so, He's also a very disappointing man, I suppose. It showed clearly in his behavior. In fact, the next person she called, Beatrice, also mentioned that, in regards to Subaru's absence, unlike Emilia, she didn't say sympathizing words, but it was completely clear that she was acting worried. So from Ram's perspective, it looked more pleasant. Ram: yes, definitely. Although, Beatrice Summer may be lonely. Beatrice: wait a second, I suppose. How did you come up with Betty being lonely out of that? In fact, how about you answer, I suppose? Elder twin: hey, big sister. Ram: yes, Beatrice Summer. The food will be served, so please be quiet. She soothed Beatrice, her getting angry with a red face, and she also arrived at the dining table. Just when she did, Roswell and Rem also arrived at the dining table. When Rem noticed her, she ran up to her with short steps and said, Rem: nay Summer, sorry for leaving you with the afternoon work. Did it work out? Ram: it's just extending normal work, so of course, it wasn't a problem. How about you, Rem? Did you enjoy it? Rem: yes. Nay Summer. Look forward to Rem after tomorrow. From Ram's perspective, Rem being prideful and appearing to have learned a lot was lovely, as she would usually be reserved. When she patted her head unconsciously, the younger sister squinted her eyes while feeling ticklish. Ram: does Rem having returned from the kitchen mean it's about time for the meals to be brought out? Rem: yes. There wasn't any more help needed for setting the table, so Rem was told to go to the dining room. Nay Summer, let's sit down, too. Ram: hee. No need to be in that much of a hurry. It's improper. She got her hand pulled by Rem, frolicking like a child, and Ram also sat down at the dining table. Rem: it's just too bad Subaru-kun won't be able to enjoy this. Ram: for that, Rem can give him all the details you can later on. Rem: yes, as expected of Nay Summer. Subaru-kun will certainly be pleased. Ram: he will surely weep. Whether they were tears of joy or tears of regret, Ram did not say. The sisters' conversation came to an end at the same time that the dining room door opened, and the Supreme Chef, who had a major role in tonight's feast, made his appearance, as if having chosen to show up at the same time the five of them sat at that place. Diaz: sorry to keep you waiting, I say. Is everyone here, I say? The man shook his fat body, and looked around the dining room. When he did, he checked on the beautiful girls with lovely looks gathered at the dining table, and he breathed heavily as he nodded approvingly. Diaz: certainly, I say. It's just like you said, Margrave Summer, I say. Well then, since the preparations and confirmations have been done, let's bring in the cooking. Emilia: yes. Please treat me well. He stared particularly at Emilia with his lustful eyes. Emilia waved at the chef carefully with a smile. Without knowing how exactly he was looking at her, she looked forward to the delicious food with an innocent attitude of anticipation. With that in mind, Ram was anxious to see how this dinner party would turn out. But then, ? May I join in as well, Ram? The change of situation came from a direction that even Ram did not anticipate. It was a beautiful voice that somehow sounded unconcerned and hoarse. Everyone was surprised by the unfamiliar voice and the sign of a new person, and they turned toward the dining room entrance. To the side of the fat man, what showed from the crack of the door was a person in a brilliant black dress. She had long, glossy brunette hair, and a jet-black dress that wrapped around her tall body for a woman. Her pulled-back lips had somewhat thick lipstick, and her eyeliner and long eyelashes increased the charm of her eye power. She had a thin scarf on her shoulders, and it looked like she had a terrible way of walking gracefully with her heels tapping. Everybody was absorbed by that person's sudden entry, and they lost their breath, doubting their eyes. The person in front of them proudly tilted her head and smiled. Natsumi: is something wrong? It's me. Natsumi Schwartz. The woman, under the silent gaze of the others, unabashedly named herself as she did a curtsy that was so perfect that it surprised everyone. Ram: HK. Ram recovered from the initial shock, and she was unsure of what to do next. Ram: someone who tended to have snap judgment, showed rare hesitation, as this type of situation was beyond her imagination. She felt an alluring power in the intruder that made it hard for her to look away, but she frantically looked toward Roswell. Just what kind of decision would her master make as the person in charge of this occasion? Roswell. I'm sorry for this, Miss Natsumi. Go ahead, take a seat. I'm sorry, but adding one more guest can't hurt, perhaps. The dinner continued. Roswell's reply that guaranteed hospitality was completely and clearly talking about that reality. When the young woman that gave off a weird vibe smiled, the fat man with an overwhelmed-looking face stroked his fat chin excitedly. It was bewitchingly devilish. Cackling, the man nodded his head up and down, and like that, he left the dining room to bring in the cooking. This meant that in an instant, the leading role was transferred pitifully from the chef to the young woman. After the young woman sent off the man, she naturally took a seat next to Emilia with a graceful stride. Natsumi, do you mind if I sit here? Emilia, wow, you're really pretty. Oh, please come sit. I'm sorry. Geez, Roswell, you never tell me when you have guests like this. Emilia chatted with the young woman nonchalantly without hiding her surprise. When Ram looked at people other than her, she saw that Rem and Beatrice had varied reactions. Beatrice had a frown with curved lips, while Rem's cheeks were slightly flushed, and one could sense that she was struggling with an unbearable and mysterious urge. And above all, there was Roswell, bending his body, and while shaking his shoulder, acting on an unbearable impulse, she said, Ram, rah. Ram did not think it would come to this. Ram fought desperately against her laughter, and she decided to abandon questioning in this situation. For now, Ram, whatever you're up to, Barusu. It's incredible. The young lady Natsumi Schwartz Natsuki Subaru's cross-dressing, while retaining some semblance of her face, was so perfect that it deceived Emilia almost completely in its female form, to the point of frightening perfection.
My Fair Bad Lady, Part 9.
He accomplished his perfect cross-dressing successfully, and having acquired the seat next to Emilia, Natsumi Schwartz Natsuki Subaru, who became a fictional woman, secretly made a firm fist, as he got the response he had hoped for. Puck, but this is just the beginning. Be careful, Subaru. I know, I won't let anything get out. While smiling with his makeup-clad face, Subaru whispered back to Puck, who was pouring his voice directly into Subaru's mind, and gave an acknowledging gesture with his chin at the hidden Puck. The sharing of thoughts and feelings with the mind, telepathy, or in short, ESP. This allowed Subaru to communicate with Puck at close range, creating a false image of Natsumi Schwartz. When they recognized Roswell's objective, they shared the information on the chef they obtained beforehand, and Subaru boldly decided that he had no choice but to cross-dress to protect Emilia. Fortunately, this also wasn't the first time he cross-dressed, so he knew how to do it. After all, I did it perfectly for my high school entrance ceremony and fooled them all the way until the third day. One of the deciding factors was that he was unexpectedly suited for makeup and that his name was Subaru, which could be used for both men and women. Having joined the group of girls in his class, he almost enjoyed his school life as a girl. Puck, for some reason, I don't think I really want to hear about all the details. Oh, I'm just digging up old wounds, so please don't worry about it. Being reminded by the use of ESP, Subaru once again confirmed that his cross-dressing had not fallen apart, eyeliner and eyeshadow to disguise his sanpaku eyes and nasty look. He temporarily acquired double-edged eyelids through the use of fake eyelashes and tools, and his skin color was vividly brought out through the contrast between his lips and his makeup. The long brunette wig was borrowed from the clothing room, and the dress that concealed his body's form also was found in the same place, presumably belonging to a large maid who had previously worked in the mansion. One day, when he would actually meet them in person, he would have to apologize to them for this day's events. But now, thanks to them, Natsumi Schwartz was complete, so he was right with his idea that there would be her outfit left behind. And then if he could disguise his appearance, acting as a woman with gestures and behavior would be easy for Subaru, being the clever one that he was. the one thing Subaru couldn't cover up by himself was his natural voice. His previous attempt at cross-dressing was ultimately a failure, because he messed up his voice spectacularly on the third day. However, reflecting upon such a failure, Subaru overcame it with the help of his accomplice, Natsumi. You sure are looking forward to the food, Emilia Summer. Are you confident in your manners, Emilia? What, me? Well, I have been studying. But I have to do my best not to embarrass myself, Natsumi. Oh ho ho, yes. Mustn't get too caught up in the food. Miss Natsumi held her hand over her mouth, smiled, and spoke to Emilia in a dignified manner. Her voice was not a masculine voice, but a husky voice that somehow gave a neutral impression. And that was the part that was not due to Subaru's own skill, but to the help of his accomplice, in other words, Puck's voice. Puck, now nestled within Miss Natsumi's chest, hidden by her feathered stole, was there, stealthily talking, on Subaru's behalf. If you had to describe it, this would be a two-person hurry together. Subaru and Puck were a single. Natsumi Schwartz, Ram and Beatrice. He felt strong looks coming from Ram and Beatrice. Based off their reactions while having clear frowns on their faces, they probably knew that Miss Natsumi was truly Subaru. However, it was not a problem. With the quality of his cross-dressing, it was definitely a different factor. Rem was looking at Natsumi for the same reason, but her look was no different from the gentle one she usually had. He didn't know what they thought of him, but for the moment, if they didn't intend to blow his cover, they were allies. And speaking of Roswell, the enemy that they needed to be most wary of in this operation, Roswell, Pooh, Cuckoo. Roswell seemed to be genuinely amused, enjoying Subaru's idea, being in female clothing. Subaru hit the bullseye with his assumption that Roswell would reveal him as Miss Natsumi. Incidentally, Emilia, the person in question, did not really seem to have noticed Miss Natsumi's true identity. I hope that momentum will push her all the way to the end. EMT, Diaz, thank you for waiting, I say. The returning cook, Diaz, and his staff, carefully served the food, one dish at a time. The silver lid on top of the white plate. When the cloche was removed, they saw that it was cooking. That was probably prepared whitefish. The fragrant smell was captivating. Diaz, it is Lauter Roy's Poisson, Raj sauce. Quite simply, he had no familiarity with any of the words in the name of the dish he was describing. It was white fish with its exterior broiled lightly, and sauce that was a vivid yellow and green. The smell, rising from it, arrested his senses immediately, casually grabbing onto his stomach, and he drooled heavily. Puck, hey, Subaru, ha. Wow, that was close. Just before he was about to pig out, Subaru was brought back to his senses by Puck's voice. He just narrowly avoided losing his social status and having all these cross-dressing efforts go to waste. After he suddenly looked to the side, Emilia also widened her eyes as she looked at the food, and everyone else had the same sort of reaction, more or less. It was too evil to combine the temperament of forced table manners with this violent type of delicious feeling. The shell called humanity came off, and the power that uncovered his wildness was included in the scent. Subaru, or rather Miss Natsumi, swallowed her saliva that was coming up, and she reached for the fork and knife before anyone else. Puck, are you sure? Subaru. Puck's telepathic words of caution questioned his resolve, to which Subaru contorted his cheeks, smiled viciously, and nodded his head. When you eat poison, you should eat it faster than anyone else. Natsumi, well, it looks quite delicious. It's almost too good to eat. Puck matched Subaru's lips as he let out those thoughts at this time. While focusing on that voice, Subaru paid close attention so that his plan wouldn't backfire, and he challenged the cooking in a way that wouldn't be grabbing the cutlery rudely. He held down the whitefish with a fork, broke it down with a knife, and ate it. It was cooked beyond perfection, as the cooking broke down just from the fork touching it. Combined with the sauce, the visual taste violated his brain. He held his breath while looking like he was going to get knocked out, keeping his sense of smell away from the delicious food's premonition. If he got overwhelmed now, he wouldn't be able to come back. He was far from being able to show a path for Emilia. Rather, Subaru himself was most likely to be the first one to be captivated by the cooking, steeled self-control, and his feelings towards Emilia. He'd use those as weapons, and he'd challenge the cooking. He opened his eyes upon renewing his determination, and he slowly brought a mouthful towards his mouth with a fork. Natsumi, the flow of the processes, appearance, conduct, all of those various things polished beauty. The instant the food entered his mouth, the result of his hard work and will crumbled. He felt like he was going to faint. He thought his eyes were going to pop out of his head. The violence of the overwhelming taste hit him through his lips and tongue, and his working brain. The blood flowing throughout his body, the muscles that supported his body, his bones, his cells, Subaru's poor determination and readiness were destroyed. He got stepped on, violated, and knocked down, and when Subaru realized it, he collapsed. Yes, what's wrong, I say? Before she knew it, Miss Natsumi left her seat, tapped her heels, and she walked up to Dias Lepanzo, Elemanso a plain fat spam vi. In front of the puzzled man, she inhaled, breathed out quietly, and slowly, knelt as she said, Natsumi, I completely underestimated you. Sorry. He rubbed his forehead against the floor, and he declared a complete surrender. It was Subaru's natural voice, in other words, a man's voice. Puck, total defeat. Puck, hidden in his chest, muttered in telepathy. But he was right. It was a total defeat. Subaru's shock was felt by Puck, with whom he was connected through a mental connection, sharing the same sense of defeat. That's why Subaru bowed his head to Dias Lepanzo Elemanso a plain fat spam vi while being moved and completely defeated as he said, Natsumi, the cooking is ridiculously delicious. I thought to eat it elegantly. However, that was impossible. Anyone would definitely think the same. It's a given to eat food with good manners, and it makes sense. But, I thought to myself, why not comment on the cooking and eat while saying, it's delicious, Miss Natsumi, or rather Subaru, piled up his words frantically while not being able to see the person's face. It was an excuse, and him being a poor loser after having their plan foiled. However, it was also unstinted praise that came from the heart. Dias' eyes widened at that jumbled praise and excuses, and he kept silent. And then, Wahahahahaha. He thought the silence would continue, but the sound of laughter suddenly echoed throughout the room. After Subaru lifted his head at once, at that voice from the dining room entrance, and he realized that it came from the mouth of a short person that showed up there. My, I am surprised. I did not think there would be a clever person who, despite having heard the rumors about me, would try to use such excuses like that in the middle of eating a meal. The person revealed her face that was hidden with a hood. The one who said that with an archaic way of speaking was this girl with childish looks. Subaru could not respond to the girl's intrusion, who appeared to be Dias' assistant. However, the girl looked at Subaru's goofy face and pleasantly bared her teeth. Although you've been completely defeated by my cooking, it's rare to see a diner that responds so cheerfully. I see, de Margrave is a mischievous person, too. I guess this is the type of stuff you like. Roswell, I thought it was the best, in terms of honest impressions. Personally, I was more interested in the other one. The girl laughed hysterically, and Roswell chuckled and agreed with her. Subaru, not understanding the meaning of the exchange, turned around and asked, "What's going on?" Then, Dias, there's a lot of rumors about my master that go around, but they're all nonsense. Master has this bad taste for messing with people where she doesn't deny the exaggerated rumors that are at her destination, toying with the people that believe in them like gems. The one who came into the conversation and answered Subaru's doubt was Dias. No, based on what the man had just said, it seemed like he wasn't Dias. Natsumi, so, the real Dias is, ? It is I incidentally, the rumor is true that I get unhappy if I don't hear my name called properly. Therefore, do not forget and do not overdo it. Puffing out her chest, the girl stomped the floor with gusto. Dias, my name is Dias Lepanzo Elemanso a plain fat spam vi. The challenge of the rumors and the conflict of tastes, the struggle, and the agony were really interesting. It was brilliant. The girl, the real Diaz Lepunzo Elemanso a plain Fatsbalm, Vi laughed cheerfully, and Subaru became dumbfounded automatically. When he did, the real Diaz Lepunzo Elemanso a plain Fatsbalm, Vi held out her hand towards him, and, when she helped him up, she slowly sat him on his original seat, the perfect escort. Diaz, what a masterful disguise. This is also splendid. This means we too should respond by showing what we can do, not wanting to be outdone. Rodriguez, help me. Rodriguez, yes I say, master. Diaz Lepunzo Elemanso a plain Fatsbalm, Vi left behind handsome words, and she rushed out of the dining room with her disciple Rodriguez. The next course would probably be brought in like that, but it was a tempestuous event. Roswell, wheel then, the legendary chef's initiation has ended safely, so let's resume Diana. Suba, thank you for your valuable sacrifice, Miss Natsumi. This prompted Roswell to raise his glass and give a salute to Subaru's defeat. Ram, well done, Barusu. Sorry no, Natsumi Schwartz-Summer. Beatrice, it was splendidly unsightly, in fact. Nicha is always so wonderful, I suppose. Rem, Natsumi Summer, you are lovely. Rem thinks it's wonderful. Next time, by all means, let Rem help you with your makeup and clothes. Ram, Beatrice, and Rem grade the event in order. If there was an open hole, then Subaru would seriously want to be buried in it. Emilia tapped Subaru's shoulder while he had that type of mental state. Emilia, I don't really get it, but can I ask one thing? Subaru, go ahead. He waited for what Emilia would say, trembling from her reaction. That was when Emilia tapped his cheek with her stood-up finger, and while tilting her head in a lovely way, she said, Emilia, your voice sounds really similar to Subaru's. Who are you? That was how he was hit mercilessly with what was the biggest sense of defeat of them all. Puck, Tatan, Subaru no, it was Puck in Miss Natsumi's chest, with a soft smile on his face, who gave the punchline, with his telepathic speech.
My Fair Bad Lady, Part 10.
Diaz, that turned out to be a pretty rewarding dinner, don't you think? She had completely put away her cooking utensils, and she smiled while carrying a large bag. Roswell smiled wryly at her words, having escorted her up to the entrance lobby, and he said, Roswell, I'm sorry we all couldn't come out to see you off. It was near seeing everyone caving in, and being captivated. To tell you the truth, they are all so tired. Thanks for letting Rem study with you and help out in so many ways. Diaz, whoever desires to pursue the way of flavor is welcome. That is a good thing. Take good care of her. Diaz was in a good mood at the mention of Rem, the girl who had been observing her cooking to the point of being able to fill the gap in staff. Then she looked up next to her and gave her grim-faced apprentice, Rodriguez, a poke on the shoulder. Roswell shrugged his shoulders, and Diaz looked to her side, laughing heartily. She saw Rodriguez, cowering. Diaz sighed at her irritating disciple and said, Diaz, what's the matter, Rodriguez? You shouldn't have a dull look when setting off. Make it a majestic one. Rodriguez, master is fine with it, but I have some thoughts. Even though we didn't do any ridiculous pranks, if we showed our skills normally, I wouldn't have had to behave in a way that promotes weird rumors of me being lustful. Diaz, wrong. Making them swallow the rumors and pulverizing composed-looking people through flavor is the funnest. Besides, as long as you keep using that sort of ending with your sentences, the rumor of you being lustful won't go away. No matter how many times I point it out, you don't fix it. Rodriguez, ending of my sentences, what do you mean? I say. Diaz looked away from her disciple that said that phrase unconsciously, and she raised her hand at Roswell. Diaz, well then, it's about the time to go. There are still many places we must visit. Being very popular is problematic, too. There's too many people I want to tease. Roswell, you really seem to enjoy your walk. Diaz, this is a hobby. It's my lifelong hobby. Besides, she did not finish her sentence, and Diaz reached for her head with her hand, and she removed the hood that covered it. Underneath it, she had beautiful, golden hair, and slightly long ears. DS, you wanted to show that half-elf girl to me, as someone who is an elf, right? Roswell, there's definitely a possibility that she will change discrimination against elves. If she did, then you wouldn't have to hide the fact that you're DS, and you wouldn't have to hide behind your disciple. DS, don't do too much stupid analysis, court jester. I do this because I want to. I won't give any special services to spread that girl's reputation. Winking, DS thrust her finger at him, and after smiling with her teeth showing, she put her hood back on. Afterwards, she valiantly turned her back on Roswell, and she walked outside majestically. DS, however, as bad as the cross-dressing boy was, the girl's honesty was not. Therefore, if you need anything else, call me again. If she asks me to show my skills, I will not refuse. Roswell, can I believe that to be a good connection? DS, do whatever you want. Geez. Ah, right. Roswell displayed shamelessness by focusing on the future until the end, and so DS looked back with a beaten look on her face, and she pointed at the mansion as she said, DS, I want to hear honest impressions next time, too. Until then, I would appreciate it if you don't let go of that elf girl and that cross-dressing boy. How you interpret that is up to you. Also, have that boy dress up as a woman for the next time I see him. Roswell, if that's what you want, I'm happy to do it. Accepting this as a sign of willingness, Roswell accepted the condition of cross-dressing as a woman, without the target's consent, and so, Diaz took Rodriguez with her, this time embarking on the next leg of their journey. Roswell, I wasn't sure what would happen this time, but with this, I've created a connection with Diaz. Lepunzo elemanzo a plain fatsparm vi. Although there were some irregularities, it should probably be said that he fulfilled his initial goal. There were a lot of matters that made him have stiff shoulders. However, he didn't just have stiff shoulders today. Roswell, nevertheless, that was a masterpiece. What popped up in his mind was a completely clear figure of Subaru cross-dressing as Natsumi Schwartz. For the time being, he would have no trouble finding an excuse to make fun of them. It was a very worthwhile dinner. That was because it was a time when his eyes, tongue, and memories enjoyed themselves. Roswell, PFFT, with a face that he wouldn't show to anybody, at a place that couldn't be seen, he raised his voice, without any hesitation at all. Having those thoughts, Roswell laughed alone, unable to handle it.